what drives me crazy is you're all over social media. Hi, this is Sam, and I want to tell you that in Orange County, prices are coming down. You know what? No, not everywhere. So when you apply for a mortgage and they run your credit report, there's a little known thing about what happens. The credit reporting companies actually sell the fact that you applied for a mortgage to other mortgage companies, and they will start calling you and bothering you and trying to get you to go with them instead. There's now a lawsuit. There's something to try to prevent that. There's actually a website you can go to, but there is an investigation going on. There's a law firm that's now got a hold of it. I mean, this stuff has to stop. So be very careful and ask your loan officer, what's the website I go to make sure no one else contacts me now that I've applied for a mortgage.
Oh,
So that's the thing you got to do, because they'll be all over you like a cheap suit. It's creepy. As I hear all of our information that Elon stole, he sent it to Palantir. So Palantir knows everything about everybody now. He's going to make a national database. And
yeah, I heard that. Palantir is a creepy company, but yeah.
Yes, they are.
And if you're wondering where you are, you're on We Fixed Real Estate talking about mortgages and Palantir. René Pérez is on the show.
All kinds of other stuff.
I'm looking into where to invest in Palantir. Bro.
It was like $12 a share of 2 years ago.
I know.
36.
Yep. Anyway, it's part of the PayPal mafia. So had a Palantir and Elon are buddies, I'm sure, still. So it all worked out, and Trump doesn't care. He doesn't even know what's going on. So
No. So I'm going to hit you with a question, because I found the article we were talking about. Home sellers now outnumber buyers by the largest margin in 12 years, report finds.
nationally, I hate these headlines because they don't mean anything. If you're buying a single family house for $4 million in Palo Alto, guess what? There's 20 people looking at the same house. Okay. We just had one in San Francisco that blew our minds. It went like 500-600 grand above what we thought it would go for. So, if you're in Florida trying to sell your 200,000 condo, forget it.
Yeah.
Can't get it insured. You got the balcony repairs.
So that's a really good public information statement that you said here, because it's very sensational when you turn on CNN and it says,
Of course.
the report found that nearly 500,000 more home sellers are in the market than buyers in April, but that's on a national level. So if you're in a hot market like Silicon Valley or in a hot market like LA, it's not as applicable to you, because
what drives me crazy is you're all over social media. These guys got 10,000, 20,000 followers. Hi, this is Sam, and I want to tell you that in Orange County, prices are coming down. You know what? No, not everywhere. Every real estate is local. So the guys who give you this broad information aren't the guys to follow. Follow somebody and, Google ChatGPT or however you find something, the exact area you're looking at. Could be even the neighborhood. There's areas, let's say Seattle, you can't look at Seattle because part of it's slow and other parts are busy. Is it a condo? How many bedrooms? Things like that. You have to micro search for your information. The macro things are great for generic content, and I'm sure it Googles well, but it's really important that you get micro information. That's the bottom line. Like, we have a buyer in Olympia, Washington, looking at a property. He's been on the market 200 days. It come down about 300 grand. And he wants to come down another, say, 150-ish. And we're going to try to justify it. And, Olympia is a good school district. It's a nice place to live. crime stats are pretty normal. It's nothing unusual. So it's like, okay, why? Why aren't people buying there? That's what we have to figure out to help him. Maybe it's just houses overpriced like crazy and the seller's out of their mind and the listing agent just keeps it busy. So anyway, I could belabor this forever, but the bottom line is, look for micro content. Don't look at the broad outline. It's just, and the fact is where job's going to be, where people want to live. That's all important and where it's doing. Changing gears, once you do want to sign a contract, there's three things that always are up in the air: washers, dryers, and refrigerators. So we had a buyer looking at a property and asked us, hey, can we still get a mortgage on the property if there's no washer, dryer, or refrigerator? I should say. The answer is you can absolutely get it. The mortgage companies, all they care about is a stove and a sink that are operating and maybe a little countertop, so it's a functional kitchen. So you can have grandma's been there 400 years making her sauce, on this one little old stove that works. That's fine. That's all you need for a mortgage. So, you take your clothes, go down by the river and get a rock and clean them. And you can get a cooler and put stuff in, or never have anything that's refrigerated, I guess. I mean, there's a thing about it used to be, it's not as much anymore, where people would take their washer, dryer, and refrigerators with them to the new house.
Yeah.
If they had just bought it, yeah, I understand. But it's like most houses are going to keep it there nowadays. So we don't see as much as we used to. But if you're buying in France, turning tables a little here, if you're buying in France, people take their entire kitchens. And people know they're going to have to bring their own kitchen. BYOK.
Wow.
It's completely different over there. But yeah, you get used to using something. But I don't know that people are in love with their fridge and washers and dryers. And they're getting so much better. Yeah, a little more expensive, but the electronics are making it easier, making it, just making it better.
Yeah, maybe if you had a $30,000 Viking, you might have some sort of or a Gogno, $100,000 Gogno.
Yeah, but if you have that in your house, you can afford the new one, and then
right,
probably upscaling, and it's probably an even better one. So, yeah, but that's the answer to that generic question of what can they do.
I'd be
surprised
get a mortgage. The mortgage is even here if you have a stove. Like you're looking at $1 million house, it's gonna still be a $999,000 house if it doesn't have a stove, because you can just put one in.
Yeah, there's a lot of real estate. It is what it is, and that's the rule, and that's fine. But there's real estate agents who are trying to sell stuff. There's one listing I looked at the other day. It's been on the market about 4 months. It just came off. And if you read the description, it's like, oh, this is a great house and blah, blah, blah. I mean, it was just nauseating of how great the house was. Then we read the agent to agent notes. Property is in bankruptcy. Agent is involved with the seller. She's got a piece of it. And it's like, I could see from the pictures from 4 months ago, there were holes in the wall. It's just a mess. And it's up against the highway. So it's noisy. We did a noise search on howloud.com, HOWLOUD.com. It's generic what they give you, but yeah, the algorithm knows it's right up against the highway and there's no giant partition. But yeah, the way people try to sell, what the agent didn't realize, and I think I've said this before, especially if you're an agent, you can't list your own property, because if you do and there's a problem, your errors and omission insurance will not cover you. Yeah. So list it with your broker in the office, but not yourself. But check with your E&O company. But anyway, I think in the public description, it should say if the agent is has a financial interest in the property.
You would think
Um,
so, yeah.
Yeah, they just have to disclose it. But they disclose it in the private notes.
Mm-hmm.
So if you got a buyer agent knows what they're doing, obviously they're going to let you know, and that's going to maybe lower the price of the house for you because they're involved and they can make less and all that kind of stuff, depending on the property. But yeah, keep an eye on that stuff.
Yeah, that's a good piece of advice. What's the so we were talking on the pre-show about San Francisco and how it's a little bit of a renaissance coming on.
Oh man, this new mayor, he's all over the place. Gotta love him. He's number one, trying to clean up all the homelessness and the fact that people are literally scared to walk on certain streets. And 16th and Mission, there's a BART station. And for those of you not in San Francisco, BART is the subway that basically goes 2/3 of the way around the Bay Area from just below the airport into San Francisco, over towards Oakland, up north, and then down south. It goes as far now as Milpitas, but it's supposed to go all the way to San Jose, so you can take Caltrain and BART all the way around eventually. But there's a station that's underground at 16th and Mission, and when you come up from that area, it's been it's ugly. Let's put it that way, and especially if you're just visiting the city, you're gonna be scared as hell. Even downtown, there's a place called the Tenderloin.
Mm-hmm.
And you can Google why it was called the Tenderloin. That's something to do with police and stakes, for real. But he's trying to clean that up. And here's my question. Do the homeless really care where they're homeless? If they had a place out in wherever, and they were told, hey, we're going to give you meals, we're going to house you, and hey, everybody go here. Is that the solution? I don't know. I mean, there's no answer to this, but it's just like, there's another problem with the Tenderloin. It was actually zoned, and they really need to change the zoning there. It was zoned basically that you can't buy the building and rehab it or build a skyscraper and make it nice. You just can't make it nice because the people who are there, they want to keep there. And that's what, it scares the hell out of people. If you go out of your fancy hotel in downtown and you make the wrong turn on Market Street, go a couple of blocks, and it's nothing you're used to if you're coming from out of town that doesn't have this. But there is a new IKEA, and an IKEA has a food court that's pretty cool, but kind of anywhere west of that, it gets interesting. That way. But what he's done, back to Daniel Lurie, is he's created a more streamlined way to get permits. Because that's been the problem. You want to do anything in San Francisco, it's 3 years. Just, that's why we get so many houses that don't have permitted items, like a room addition or whatever, because it's like, I'd rather just get caught and pay the fine than wait and do it the right way. But if he gets this going in the right way, it's really, really going to help. And as I said earlier, we've seen prices going up, and they're making a fantastic comeback, San Francisco. What still isn't 100% there, but if you want to kind of ride an upswing, is the condos downtown, which, the $650,000 one bedrooms went down to the high fives. I see them now back at the $650,000 price. Wow. So they're already on the way back.
Is that the return to work? Like people are being forced to return to work, so they're going to have to.
Well, between that and the AI companies setting up in San Francisco, obviously still people who commute. But let's talk about one major issue in condominiums, because we are dealing with this now. SB 326, They come make t-shirts with that number on it. So this has to do with balconies. And there's actually two balcony laws. SB 326, which has to do with condominiums and homeowners associations, even a PUD, where it's townhouses next to each other, nothing on top of each other. And multifamily and apartment buildings. That's SB 721. So SB 721 was pushed out. The deadline is now December 31st, 2026. The condominiums in HOA for SB 326, the deadline was December 31st, 2024. And condos, there's a lot of them that just aren't paying attention to this, taking their literal time, but they got to verify through a structural engineer or an architect that the balconies are all good.
Mm-hmm.
They have to keep the inspection reports for 18 years. They got to do it every 9 years. They have to sample 95% of those units that are affected.
Mm-hmm.
So we have one condo association. Oh, this is also for 3 or more units. Let me add that.
Mm-hmm.
So a 2-unit condo, not a problem. It's also not a problem if the outside space is a roof. So it's not a balcony that's protruding.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So that's important because we have a condo now that we're selling that we checked and we don't have to do it. But you got to get it done and you got to get the work done. And here's the topper kitties, Fannie Mae, the quasi-governmental organization that requires, basically all the mortgages that you get that aren't jumbo, and the jumbo lenders, the Wells Fargos and the Bank of America of this world are jumping on the same thing. It's under section D4-2.1-03, ineligible properties. Go look it up, kids. And it's basically saying that any unfunded repair costing more than $10,000 per unit that should be undertaken within the next 12 months is ineligible for financing. So we have this townhome that doesn't have the balconies, but in the condominium there are, I believe, 7 of them that do, and they basically have dragged their feet. And at this point in time, they have a contractor, but they don't even have an exact start date to when it's getting done. And we've had Bank of America and now another one of our lenders, Sierra Pacific, who sell to Fannie Mae, saying, no, they will not approve it, even though the unit we're trying to sell doesn't have balconies.
Oh, wow.
So basically, this unit is worthless right now at the list because you can't get a mortgage. I also contacted a non-Fannie Mae lender to see if they would entertain it, but you're going to pay, 1 to 2 points higher in interest rate. And who's going to want to do that? That lowers the value of the property. So I think personally, the property management company that runs this place is totally liable for this.
I would think so.
Yes. And, I don't know what information they gave to the board of directors who are on the HOA board. But obviously we're starting, our owner is pushing and talking to people. I know René's talked with another listing agent who's talked to their seller to put pressure, but the work's got to get done. They won't approve it unless it's done. And it's Florida, they have their own balcony law. And I think, don't quote me, I think that was extended the next year, but still, it's a big thing. It's going to come to a state near you.
Yeah. So there's 7. How many units are in that building?
I don't know. René, what do you think? Like 40, 50 units, something like that?
And 7 of them have balconies. Now, would they use the reserves to pay for the repairs of these 7 balconies, even though
they can't
everyone doesn't have it?
I'm not sure, what the financial situation is. But they know they got to pay for them. They had to get the estimate first, and they kind of just got it from this agency or builder or somebody, contractor. So it's just real important. And, if you live in a condo in California that's 3 or more units, you gotta ask about SB 326. And if you have it listed currently, check on it because your unit's worthless unless somebody pays cash, but they're going to want a discount and there's not going to be as many buyers. It's real simple.
Wow.
So we urge people in California in a condominium to please go through and do that.
That's crazy. Right. Glad I don't.
Well, this all comes from shoddy work that was done. And in Berkeley, this happened and kids were killed and they had too many people on the balcony.
No,
But
I remember. Yeah.
remember that? That's
Mhm.
how this all started. Florida, same kind of thing. They
I
had
think something
people
just
killed.
fell the other day. I saw something on the news that there was another balcony collapsed. Maybe it was in Europe though.
I don't know.
No.
Didn't see, but hello. Apartment buildings, let's just hit SB 721. If you live in an apartment and it's 3 or more units, they have a sample size of 15%. They need to do it every 6 years. And they need to keep the inspection reports for 12, which is easy. It's all digital now. But they will allow an inspector type of structural, architectural engineer, general contractor, or a certified home inspector.
Mm.
So it's a lot easier to do that checking. But if you live in an apartment, hey, call the management company. Say, when are you doing the SB 721 inspection? I'm sure the person answering the phone has no idea what you're talking about, but pressure them because you obviously don't want to happen what happened in Berkeley.
No.
So anyway, that's our happy news of the week.
Yeah, let's continue the happiness. Let's talk about this yen carry trade deal.
Okay, so as you may or may not know, mortgage rates are definitely higher than they should be.
Mm-hmm.
First of all, there's a big question about what's going to happen with tariffs and all that. But the other thing is the Japanese economy is not doing too well. And really, they're one of the biggest holders of U.S. bonds, treasury bonds, mortgage-backed securities. And their people are getting older and there's not enough people who are younger.
Mm.
People just didn't have kids there. And so the problem is they need to fund all these pensions and they got to find the money somewhere. It's easiest to sell our debt. And that's going to be a problem. But also, if you're a complete nerd about this, there's a really good TikTok that came out. We can put it in the show notes and the All In podcast that talks about what's called the yen carry trade. That's fully explained it. We don't need to go into super details here. I mean, Shamas Palihapitiya did a great job of explaining it in there. But yeah, that's what's going to happen. Fannie Mae comes out the other day and says interest rates next year are going to be in the low 6s. I don't know where they're kind of getting this theory of it. And I'm usually one to say that rates are going down, but I still see rates going up until we have this question mark of what the hell's going on with tariffs. Tariffs cause inflation. Well, it means prices go up. The reason the Fed lowers interest rates, this is the primer of this, is to make an economy stronger. So they want you to have a lower borrowing rate. So you'll go to the bank, borrow money to start a business, as opposed to the high rates. Then you don't want to borrow.
Quantitative easing.
So exactly. And the higher rates slow the economy down so that we can then eventually have it come back down. And the last thing is called stagflation. That's the worst possible thing we can have. Prices go up and rates go up at the same time. And anybody remembers the end of the Carter administration? That's why Ronald Reagan got elected, because of stagflation.
23% interest rates.
Yeah. Mortgage rate. I had a 12.5% adjustable rate mortgage.
Wow.
Yeah. And I'm just happy to get it.
Yeah. It's not as simple as just ordering Jerome Powell to lower interest rates, because there's all these macroeconomic factors that are playing. I read something about, it was Mark Cuban. I was talking about why prices haven't gone up yet was because everybody front run all their purchases in Q1, seeing what was about to happen, and they're still able to sell off their existing inventory. But we're going straight into a 6-month gap where the shipping containers weren't here. The tariffs are,
And they still aren't.
no.
There's
Settle
websites you can see where all the carriers are all over the world, and they're stuck in China. They're not leaving.
Mhm.
There's, the port down here in Long Beach is going to be really quiet really soon.
Mhm.
And that's going to make shortages, and shortages cause price increases. And now add that in California to the fact that people who are employed in the farms to harvest everything are scared to go there because they think ICE is going to show up and deport them for no reason. So, I mean, it's just, if somebody looked at this at a macro level based on what is the plan, they would say, you're out of your minds. So what, because it's simple. A 3-year-old can figure this out and what's going to happen. Don't get me started on politics.
Yeah. So politics aside, what were we talking about? Oh, yeah, there was the end carry trade. But yeah, I can also tell you about it. Well, this is politics. They're really ramping. ICE is ramping things up in San Diego big time. There was riots here.
I saw that. Yeah.
And Buon Porchetta, like an Italian restaurant. Of all the places to raid, why that? It seemed like
because I guess there's Mexican gangsters running out of the kitchen or something.
it could be. It's like 5 of them here.
Who knows?
Yeah, I had been calling just Fred to be exaggerating things, but now I'm following his advice of carrying my identifications with me all the time. Because it's inside a restaurant, right? And it's happened at like the Home Depot now too, right?
Mhm.
Which is something I said would not happen, but here we are, right? So
You go to schools, they're going.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just like these guys getting off on this, and they're all wearing masks. They've all been deputized by somebody, and what are they costing us, and how much? Okay, here's something somebody can do. Figure out how much productivity has been lost in dollars compared to how much we're paying these ICE guys to come and take these guys out of the country.
Mhm.
It's got to be 50,000 to 1.
And the unsettled uncertainty.
Exactly. And solve individual crimes and get the criminals. You put them in jail. You don't deport them. You're giving them no ability to have
Yeah.
in front of a judge. Anyway, if you don't
Definitely
like
creating
our
a lot of
politics,
unsettled uncertainty.
by the way, don't use us.
Yeah.
We're okay with that. Go ahead. Go to someplace, charge you 2.5%. Yeah. Enjoy yourself. You don't deserve to get our fixed price.
No, there's a
little trouble. Ooh.
Yeah, the whole unsettledness of the economy and just how people are just not I don't know, everybody's on the sidelines, but on the other hand, there's nothing like the security that a home can provide. So I would see some people might want to just kind of hunker down into a home they own versus renting or kind of being in limbo. Try to turn it back to we fixed real estate.
Yeah, it's a whole different connotation of free fixed real estate. But yeah, it's like I don't even want to go anywhere outside of the country. I don't want to fly anywhere because who knows coming back. I'm a long-haired hippie, and so they put me in an isolation room. Right? I know somebody who is a U.S. citizen, naturalized from South Africa, white person who got stopped and interrogated for an hour.
Mm-hmm.
Why? No reason. They just like picking off whoever they feel like picking off.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway,
what's the latest? You've been quiet on this chat.
Yeah, no, I mean, I'm just working through other things. I guess I going back to Fred just saying like we're looking at like micro markets and things like that. It's I think there's just a lot of uneducated agents in general, and that is why you still see overbidding, right? It's always an agent who hasn't done a lot of deals who says, "Oh, well, it's a hard market. Let's just bid higher." I mean, we're looking at a lot of deals where um we would get a deal, almost a deal under list, and you would so close to the finish line, and someone at the last minute comes in and submits above list, right? That actually happened to us yesterday. Um, when we were gonna make an offer in a condo in San Francisco, right? It's been on the market 60 days, and then all of a sudden, an agent lies and says like, "Oh, it's super active," and it gets people excited, and people who didn't know that the market is kind of soft. I mean, it's not obviously it's not the Midwest, right? But
Co-op, which is even softer.
yeah, exactly. And then because they work with an agent that doesn't have a lot of experience, they, you know, unfortunately overpay, right? So that's kind of the beauty of working with both Fred and I is that we have done a lot of business. Uh, Last year we did above $130 million in transactions. This year we've done at least 5 transactions every month,
Wow.
right? And that's just the ones we're closing, right? That's not the ones that we actually write and we look into underwriting and the mortgages and seeing the qualifications of buyers, seeing the activity. So we're in the market. We're not just in San Francisco. We're not just in Seattle, right? We're all over California, right? We're all over Washington, and we can do business um, from a lot of from a lot of states. Just
In
because
Texas.
it's 2025, right? So we have the technology to look more deeper into the specific market. So um, that's kind of my general commentary for the week.
With your comment, René, let me just add a little twist to it that people think escalation clauses are the solution to these things. An escalation clause is a form that says, okay, we're going to bid, make up numbers, $1 million, and we'll go up $5,000 over somebody else's bid up to, and this is the key, up to $1.1 million, let's say. So the listing agent gets all the offers. They look at all the ones and see that you're willing to pay $1.1 million. And they just figure in some way, shape, or form, they could kind of connive it to make you pay $1.1 million.
Mhm.
So escalation clauses don't really work. Go in with your number. If you're close, there's going to be a second round. You want to go a little higher and get it. I mean, we just did that with the multiple counter offer. We came in 20 grand higher. We got it. Escalation clauses are just, that's the way they work. So be aware of what happens. Yeah, René,
I have
I'm sure
a pretty extensive article about escalation clauses, and they sound nice. I mean, I think it stems from, again, amateur agents. I mean, as an agent, you want to be able to give your buyers and your clients options, right? So escalation clauses are a good, I mean, the sentiment is great. The sentiment is to give your buyers options to not have to overpay more, right? Problem is that there's no policing in real estate. So there's no way to verify that there's other offers um, from the other side. So all we're doing is just blindly telling the other side, this is actually not my first offer is not my real number. I can go this high, and I'm okay with it, right? So again, if we can attach that article into the podcast, I mean, it's
Yeah,
gives a really extensive.
because I need to learn more about escalation clauses. I don't think I've.
Yeah, I mean, a typical agent will, usually it's a buyer who will say, "Oh, well, let's do an escalation clause," and an agent who's not informed about how that all works will say, "Oh, okay, great idea," and then fill in the form. So that's the issue.
Hmm.
There you go.
Any last thoughts? First thoughts? Next thoughts?
I don't know.
So happy start of the official start of the summer.
Yes, it's June. We are recording this on June 2nd.
Yeah, and will we have June gloom in Los Angeles?
We have it here. We have it here in San Diego.
We had May gray, but now the hurricanes are starting. The first one hit Phoenix with rain for like the first time in 300 years or something. So keep the umbrellas handy, kids.
Yeah, it'd be neat to have a nice rainy summer.
At night.
At night.
Yeah. Can we arrange it? Please just, rain at night. Help the plants, keep everything, the water supply up, stop the fires. So we even had fires the other day. I was
We had a big one
driving.
east of me.
Really?
And
We
by
had
Apollo
one-
Casino.
I was driving on the 110 going north. I was going to head up to the 101 and it was backed up like crazy. So I said, okay, well, I'll go up the 110 and then go on the 5 instead. So for you LA people, you know where I'm talking about. But as I come up the 5, up the 110, it's like, it comes to a complete halt. Well, I
Oh,
find out, and I didn't get an alert on my app. It's a really good app. I forget the name of it that alerts you to all the fires.
mhm.
There was a brush fire right around Dodger Stadium.
Watch Duty.
What's it?
Watch Duty is the app.
Watch Duty. Yeah, fabulous app. Worth paying for. Okay, pay for that app. And we saw fire trucks closing off the 110 temporarily. I could see the firemen hosing down from up top above one of the tunnels. And then they closed off the entrance to the 5 from there for some reason. I guess because there were fires on the other side. So I had to go all the way up to Avenue 26, I think it is, and then go and kind of wiggle in and come back and get on the 5. But it was like a half an hour delay for, I was too lazy to sit and go on the 101, which would have taken me 50 minutes. So LA traffic is crazy, kids, but when you had a fire and they showed it from Dodger Stadium from the game, they could see it.
Oh, wow.
That was nuts. Nuts. So we hope for rain. Let's get some rain here.
Yep.
Moisten things up. Anyway,
Right.
on that happy note.
On that happy note, this has been another episode of We Fixed Real Estate.